Welcome to another episode of Let's Parley, where we are here to encourage you to bet on yourself and pursue all that life has in store for you. I am your host, Monty Taylor. Without further ado, let's parlay. What's going on, family? We're here for another episode 9 already. Time is flying. It's crazy that we are in July already. I don't even know where the time is going, but I appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you for taking this time out of your day to listen to me yap on about God knows what. But today we're going to have a really, really good episode. I'm really excited about this one because I feel like there's a lot of things that we do unconsciously that may be slowing us down, that may not be helping us. And there's some things that we do unconsciously that are helping us as well too. And one of those things that I want to talk about today is what we say to ourselves and what we just speak in general. The power of the tongue, right? So are your words helping you or are they hurting you? Are they getting you closer to your future that you desire, or are they hindering you and keeping you where you're at? So, as always, I want to start off with something a little bit lighthearted, but any of y'all ever said something that you regretted? I mean, we all have. If you haven't, then you're lying, or you just don't remember. Because I've had many a times that I've said something and I completely regretted it. And I'll just bring up some smaller times. I remember it was back when I was in LA, and I had a certain group of friends that they used to call me Mr. Obvious because I would always just say stuff that was pointing out the obvious, and it just didn't serve any purpose. And every time I would be like, yo, like, why did I just say that? To be honest with you, I feel like at that time in my life, I wasn't reading as much. I wasn't really pouring as much into my mind. So I didn't really have much else to say other than what I observed. And a lot of the times they would give me, so much crap about just being like, yo, like, why did you just, yeah, we all see that, right? Be like, yo, it's cloudy today. I'd be the type of dude to say stupid stuff like that, right? Like just observing things and saying it out loud. So we've all had those moments where we may have said something that we regretted. I'm sure that plenty of the fellas have said something that you have regretted, especially in pursuit of maybe a love that you're looking for. Um, yeah, there's been plenty of things that we've had that we've regretted saying. So anyway, I just wanted to start off lighthearted. Maybe think for a second and just pause and be like, yo, like, what were some things that I've said that, and honestly, you probably don't even have to think that long, because we all remember those times where we were like, like, why did I say that? Or why did I do that? And it was just a super embarrassing moment. I don't know why our mind just really holds on to those memories, but mine does. I don't know about you. So anyway, so just want to set the tone for today. Words aren't just sounds, right? They have a lot of power. They have a lot of meaning. And I think that we should really look into the words that we use when we're speaking to one another, when it comes to friends, family, acquaintances, any stranger that you meet, and more importantly, the words that you use when you're speaking to yourself. A lot of the times, those words are being spoken in your mind, so it doesn't really have much of a filter. However, it's still good to be aware of it, still good to be conscious of it. So let's dive into what I like to call the power of the tongue. And it's not what I call the power of the tongue at all. As you have already seen, I am very, very uh, adamant about where I get my knowledge from and where I get a lot of my truths from. And it's from the Bible. So we're going to start off with a verse that is going to drive this thing home, because honestly, for me, in my life's journey, I didn't really understand the power of my words until I started reading and understanding certain scriptures in the Bible. And I was like, oh, wow, like there is a lot of power behind this. So let's start off with a scripture. We're going to be in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 21. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Pause for a second, right? Digest that verse, really marinate on what you think that means, because I feel like at first there's a lot of things that you're trying to maybe interpret as far as the language that's used in that verse and what is it all, yeah, what is the purpose behind every word that was used in that verse. To me, the thing that really stood out was life and death, right? Like the beginning and the end. Those are really, really powerful concepts that are attached to words. And a lot of the times we don't really think of it that way, but it's good to really shift our focus and shift our perspective towards the power behind our words so that we know what we're actually doing when we speak them. So I kind of think of it like this. Your words can either plant something and give it life, or you could pull something out of the ground and kill it. And that's really what this verse means to me is your words have the power of giving something life, nourishing it, or pulling something out and sucking all the life out of that thing. And as I mentioned, this could be in the form of self-talk, it could be in your relationships, it could be in your faith, right? And what you believe about what's going to happen and what God is doing in your life. I know I've personally gone through many a times where I've been so frustrated, and I remember being so angry with God, whether it be a situation that I just couldn't control, where someone else was doing something and I felt like God was putting them in my life to just hurt me or damage me or whatever have you. And then I realized like, wait, like why am I talking about this situation that way? Like I'm having the completely wrong perspective about things. Because if I know the truth about God's loving relationship with me, everything that he's presenting is going to be for my good. So I need to see things from his perspective more often and speak that into the situation. So that's just one of those personal examples for me that really hits home. But I want to dive really into self-talk. I'm pretty sure I've read or heard somewhere that there's plenty of studies that have shown that people that talk to themselves tend to be higher IQ. And I used to think, wow, like I must be a dummy because I don't say nothing to myself. Everything that I say is in my head and it's never spewed out verbally. But the crazy part is, now living on my own, especially, if you live with somebody, I can see how this could be challenging, but, or maybe not. For me, living on my own, it kind of allowed me that freedom to test this out and to see, all right, if I start talking to myself, do I feel better? Will I be able to process things better? Will I just be in a better mood? Almost 100% of the time that I've done this, I've always felt better after having a conversation with myself. Now, it might sound crazy, okay? I'm not telling you to be a weirdo and just talk to yourself all the time, especially in public settings. People might think you're strange. However, when you're on your own, when you have a moment to really just be in solitude, then why not just have like a quick conversation and talk what you would want to speak to yourself. Talk to yourself how you would speak to a friend or, to a child of yours or to a family member in a loving and just caring nature. And when I started doing that, I was like, wow, like self-talk really is powerful because I've just realized that like when I put it through the filter of me speaking, I naturally speak to myself a lot nicer and have better conversations. As opposed to when it's all up here in my head, there is no filter for it at all. Like anything, it's open game up here in between these two ears. I don't know about y'all, but for me, I just don't have that sort of mental power to stop a certain thought and make it something better and have that immediately happen in the moment. That is just not a skill that I have. One way that you could really combat this so that you could start filling your mind with more positivity is through the power of affirmations. So, all of the clients that I've ever worked with, whether it be fitness coaching or life coaching clients, I've always encouraged and tried to hold my clients accountable to a habit of affirmations. So, speaking positively to yourself, but more specifically, speak the habits that you want into your life and then also speak the vision that you want into your life, your goals. And I think a real powerful structure to this is doing it in the I present tense. Okay. So I am strong and capable of lifting 500 pounds, right? Something like that. And I'm doing this because I'm actively in the gym every day or in the gym every week consistently. Things like that You keep repeating that to yourself, especially at the beginning of your day. One, you're going to want to prove yourself right throughout the day. And then two, there is just something to be said about the spoken word and the impact that it has on you and your belief system. So you start to drown out whatever would naturally come up in your mind as negative, and you replace it with the things that you want that are positive through your affirmations. So I just want to prompt you to think about what you've been speaking lately. Would you want those words to come true? That language, that mindset, that perspective, is the energy of it positive? Is it negative? Would you want that to manifest into some physical reality? Another thing that I really had to check myself on was that words really reveal the heart. And I didn't really think about this much because, I just didn't have much value over the words that I spoke. I just thought you can just say anything and it kind of just goes out there and nothing happens, right? Like there's nothing attached to it. But yet again, another biblical concept that led me to this revelation. And I want to share a scripture with you from Matthew chapter 12, verse 36 through 37. All right, so stay with me now because I feel like this is really going to hit home at how the words will reveal your heart. The verse goes as such: "But I tell you that everyone will have to give account on the day of judgment for every empty word they have spoken. For by your words you will be acquitted, and by your words you will be condemned." I mean, pause for a second. So just to give you a little bit of context to this scripture, this is Jesus reminding us that our speech reflects our heart and our mindset. Careless words aren't harmless, okay? There is an inner world that's being shaped by the fact that you are using such words in whatever situation that you're in. So thinking about this, you're like, wow, like even empty words, even words that I don't feel like have any intention behind them, but I'm just saying them to say them, even those start to have an impact on your inner world and on your future and maybe even your eternal future. I think that that's a really, really good example of something that I just wouldn't have known until I started picking up the Bible or just being around other people of faith. So some examples that, might drive home for some of you. I'm not good at this. I've said that so many times about certain things. For example, I'm trying to think of something that I say all the time. Oh, I often have said that I'm not the most creative person. I'm not, like, my brain is very much geared towards science and math and not so much towards the arts. I've said that repeatedly. And the wild part is that I've realized that I can be a creative person. Like I've had enough experiences in my life where I've edited enough content and posted it and realized like, oh, like I actually am more creative than I thought. But I kept saying this thing to myself over and over again because of maybe my experience in school and not being as interested in whatever way that I could express myself artistically then, that now I can express myself in a creative way and in a different way. I mean, I've said that so many times. Another example could be I always mess things up, right? Or that's not for me, or I'm not good at this. Another one that could really drive home is I'll never be in shape. I'm just a big person, right? You've just literally pigeonholed yourself into a certain identity that now you will make decisions to manifest. Like you're saying that, so now all your actions are going to reflect that. Same thing when it comes to your capabilities. If you think that you're not a good reader, then you are going to continue to prove that to yourself with your actions. You probably won't pick up a book, or you probably will intentionally sabotage yourself while reading to say, I'm just not good. As opposed to someone who says, I can learn anything if I put my mind to it. If I spend enough time doing something, I can pick it up. Then you will turn into the person who does that thing because you have the mindset to persevere through the times where you might suck at the beginning, right? And everybody does with most things. And then eventually you get better and better. So there is a logical reality attached to the principle that we're talking about here, where it does reveal your heart. It does reveal what you truly feel about one, the things that you were blessed with. Like if you're of God, if God made you, there's everything that is made within you is good, right? And yes, there's some things that we fall short on, and there's some things that we are continuing to work on, and we're always going to fall short. However, what you speak to yourself will reveal what God intended in creating you. So if you continue to say negative things about yourself, then you're just continuing to reveal that your heart is not connected to what God's true intentions are for you and for your life and for your capabilities. So it's something to really think about. It's like, yo, let me check my heart real quick. Like, I'm saying I'm not good at something, but like I was made in the image of God. Like I can do whatever I want. I can do and figure out whatever it is that I put my mind to. Just a slight perspective shift will start to reveal your heart in a different way. So let's just start replacing negative patterns with aligned and faith-filled affirmations, right? Let's talk about what we really believe, if you do believe it. But let's talk about what we even want to believe about ourselves and what we want to manifest. Let's do that. Let's move in that direction and then start to manifest that in our physical world, okay? God didn't call you to speak death over yourself, right? He gave you life for a reason. He called you to call things that are not as they were. Think about that for a second. He called you to call things that are not as they were. So we are not here to continue to repeat our past or continue to manifest what happened in the back, right? We want to manifest what we want in the future. And that's what God has in store for us. So just really sit and marinate on that for a little bit and think about like, all right, what words am I really speaking here? The next thing I want to talk about is the fire behind words. How dangerous can words be? They can either ignite courage and prosperity, or they could ignite conflict and war. Simple as that. I mean, there was this, I had read a book recently where uh, I think it was a bunch of journalists were coming together. I think it was way back in the day, but it was a bunch of journalists who had met and they were trying to figure out like what story they could break, and nothing was happening during the period of time that they were discussing like current events. So what they decided to do was they decided to make up a story to have something to put into the newspaper. So they all concocted a story that was all foolproof, and it involved a foreign nation, and I'm blanking out on the details of it, but the reality of it is that they then printed that story and then they caused a humongous conflict to happen shortly thereafter. And it was all because of their words that they had shared. Like, just as simple as them lying about something created so much more conflict and war and death, people losing their lives as a result. So it's something, I think that's just an example of like, a more extreme version of it. But just think about the power that your words have whenever you speak them and how dangerous it could be, right? Like for me, I've realized that when I'm going to work out, it's better for me to start like hyping myself up and like pumping up the fact that I'm going to hit new PRs today. Like I'm like when you start having those thoughts and then you say them out loud, there's something behind that. There's even a study that has shown that people who hype themselves up before they go into a certain lift or go into their sets, they tend to perform better than the people who say nothing. So there's power behind the words that you're saying and that you're spewing. Like that's how much fire is behind them, is that you could then spark whatever it is that you're saying into its reality. I also think about us as kids, and I really have a lot of empathy for people who grew up in very like verbally abusive households, um, or who had parents who maybe like repeated very negative things to them, because on on the other end of that is a child who is innocent and who doesn't really understand their self identity yet. They're um, doesn't really understand where their place is in the world. And to go through that repeatedly, or sometimes even just hearing it once from a parent, can do long lasting damage. And there are now people who are grown up, who are adults, but are still repeating the patterns of the words that were spoken to them as kids. And it happens subconsciously. They walk around, they think they can't do anything, they think everybody's against them, that they're not good enough, and it all came from just a small part of their life, like an instant, like a moment where a parent or where an adult who said something to a vulnerable child, and now that child will continue to believe that for the rest of their lives. Like, that's the power behind words. That's the power behind saying something that isn't necessarily bringing somebody up or lifting somebody up. I also think about this like when it comes to friends. I know guys, like, we have a nature of just wanting to talk so much like trash and all that sort of stuff. Like when we speak to one another, a lot of the times, especially amongst friend groups, it's not the most enriching, like uplifting, all that sort of stuff. And a lot of it can be, of a joking nature, and it's just to, give each other a hard time. However, a lot of that can continue to manifest itself if there isn't some sort of, reality check about the humor behind it. Or if it's repeated enough times, someone can come to actually believe that. And I've seen that happen with certain friend groups. So even amongst friends and amongst people that you love, speaking something encouraging and lifting them up. I mean, there's fire behind those words that you're saying. You could really bring somebody out of a really dark place by saying something positive about them or complimenting them. Even strangers. I don't know if y'all have ever gotten I mean, it was just the other day. I got a compliment on my car from this random dude. He was driving a tow truck and he stopped in front of my car and opened his window. I was like, "Hey, buddy, you best not be coming for me because my car is fine. I parked. I got a parking spot, player. Like you, nah." And I'm already thinking that. But the guy, he was like, "Yo, man, I really like your car," and I was like, "Wow, man, thank you." It's the first time since I purchased a car like 2 years ago that I've ever heard someone, a stranger at least, give me a compliment on my car. It made my day. I walked around like I was on top of the world. I thought, wow, like I think I do actually have a nice car. But before then, maybe I had my doubts. But it's just one of those things where it could really, really change someone's day when you are complimenting a stranger or just saying something positive to anyone. You never know the power behind it. All right, so to wrap things up, I just want to give you some action steps like I always do at the end of each podcast, and maybe even some thoughts around like affirmations that you could say to yourself, right? First things first, let's start with a word audit. So, what words do you say about yourself every day? Whether they be in between your ears or whether you're saying them out loud to other people. What are you saying to yourself every day? Take some time to just process that and, really think about what's being repeated. Replace the I can'ts with God, I can. A lot of the times, you probably can't do it by yourself, but with God, anything's possible. So you're never alone in this whole journey of bringing yourself up. Let's bring God into the conversation so it doesn't feel like you're trying to put that burden entirely on yourself. Then the last thing I'll recommend is just beginning your day with 3 truth-based affirmations. They can even include some scripture in them. But just start your day with 3 affirmations that you feel like will really push you forward towards the things that you want to be going towards. If you start speaking that to yourself every day, I promise you, your perspective will shift and your perspective will then become your reality and you will start to manifest those things. For example, an affirmation you could say to yourself, right? I speak life, not lack. I align my words with what God says I am and not how I feel. A powerful, powerful affirmation just to help you get over the words that you're speaking to yourself. So I just want to close this out by saying that words have weight. Choose them wisely. Let your voice echo your values, not your fears. Let them echo your vision, not your past. Let them echo the gain that you've had all your life and not the gap between where you are and where you want to be. I'd also say, let's invite God into the language. I mean, and what's the worst that's going to happen, right? You'll just be where you're at anyway. So might as well try something new and see how it works. And I'll close off with just one more scripture to leave you guys with. This is from Psalm 19, verse 14. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you, Lord. let them be pleasing to God. Let them align with what God says about you. Let them align with what God has put in your heart for your future, for your vision for yourself. Let that alignment be there. Okay. So I appreciate you guys tuning in for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you are able to reflect on the words that you're speaking to yourself and make the best out of the things that you say. All right. Let's take care of our words. Let's take care of the people around us with our words. And let's just make better decisions and be more conscious of it. All right. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so that you can continue to see new episodes. For anyone out there who is interested in a program where you are using a faith-based approach to hit your fitness goals, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram or TikTok. I would love to work with you. It's a new program I've created called the Fit and Faith Program. I'm really excited about it. We're building a nice community of believers who want to work on their fitness as well. So I'm excited for you. Yeah, if there's anything that you'd love to share as far as things that you'd like to change with the words that you're speaking to yourself, comment on this video or shoot me a message. Would love to hear your thoughts. Let's just stay connected, y'all. All right. So that is a wrap for today. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Let's Parley. Hope you've been inspired to bet on yourself and pursue all that life has in store for you. God bless and have a good day.